All right, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your participation. And without much ado, I want to start this discussion with Akyeamehene of the Akra traditional area, and Aduna second. You gave us a profound new history of how cocoa came to Ghana. Yeah, I know when I was doing social studies, they said the Akwashi brought cocoa, but the back of this was what blew my mind when I watched this documentary. If I talk a little bit more about this history of cocoa in Ghana. Would you have a mic?
You asked me the history, you guys didn't manage boring evening. But thank you very much for the question. And first, I must say a big thank you to Mr. Philip Stalder for this excellent documentary. I think that I must acknowledge already that this would not have been possible unless it was done independently by an outsider. There was no way this documentary was going to see the light of day if it was done by an NGO that is funded by a big corporate or anybody attempting to do this thing in Ghana, it killed. So thank you very much for that opportunity. And just to say that from the historical perspective, I met Philip in 2021 after our president went to Switzerland to make some bold statements. And incidentally, ex-President Akosua scored another Dankwa Akosua. And he's named after Nana Dankwa the first, who was the one who welcomed the Basel missionaries to Accra. So there is a lot of history that's just playing itself in the characters that are present and in past. I think my role as Akyeamehene, which is the chief linguist, is as a custodian of culture, history, and a number of things that struck me. I mean, I come from a very rich cocoa heritage family, and so some of the stories that I got exposed to start asking questions. So when I really went into the industry and just started, I've been in the cocoa sector for 24 years now actively. That is relatively actually this year 25 years because I've been a chief for 25 years, I've transitioned there for 25 years. So what really happened, I met Philip in 2021, I think that was right. And what broke the ice was he was introduced to me by a South African called Opoku. And so once a South African introduces someone to me, we have a code because I stayed in South Africa. So I could tell that this guy was the right guy to do. So we did an initial documentary and it was a short one, but the way he put it made me very happy. So when he came back the second time, I'd already had a plan because he admitted he didn't know anything about the Basel history, whatever. So he came initially with a focus on products, and I said, Philip, there's the bigger products in Akuapem, not in Mapo. So let's go and let's actually tell the story right from the beginning, because also this Tetekwashi story that we are told or fed with, it's a nice myth for creating a national hero, but there's a lot more behind the story. So not to take away anything from Tetekwashi, but to add more to the story to broaden and deepen the perspective. So there was an opportunity to tell the story about the Basel missionaries, there was the opportunity to just explore the whole value chain and from a historical perspective. So that's where I thought that it was useful. Engage with Philip, and I didn't realize it was going to take 3.5 years, but maybe it's just as well because a lot has happened in the corporate sector in the last year in particular. And of course, the change in the government and the change in atmosphere actually enhances the likelihood of this documentary and this change transitioning into real action. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yeah, okay, I forgot to mention also, and Brian, thank you, but when we did the short clip, we went to Nigeria with the short clip in 2022, and the short clip got an award. And they were actually very blown away. So that was also another motivation to actually progress better with this. And incidentally, right over here is the youth of the secret agents behind all some of the cocoa scenery. And again, the contact was made when we all met in Nigeria. So, Brad, thank you very much.
All right. Before you pass the mic, I think in the documentary, another profound thing I noticed was how you broke down. You got a little bit frustrated saying it's not just chocolate. It's not just chocolate. There's so much more. You know, if you can break down to us why we zone in on just chocolate or what the other things are.
Okay, sorry for the looking frustrated. I think it was a conversation with the tour guide at the Tizukwashi farm. So it was actually in response to her, but of course we couldn't fully screen her for confidentiality reasons. So we had to edit certain portions of that. But I think for me the frustrating thing in terms of like our focus on just one aspect. I mean, I happen to be a medical doctor by background, and I also happen to have worked in the pharmaceutical industry. And so there's a very interesting correlation between cocoa has lots of antioxidants, and there's a very interesting correlation between, especially for erectile dysfunction. I handled the grouping of Viagra for Pfizer when I worked with them. And so it just struck me about how medicinal this product was. And again, you talk about lowering blood pressure, you talk about losing weight, you talk about many things that a product does. So I started thinking about it more from the health improvement perspective, right? Francesca can tell you a lot more about this appearance of skin experts. So for me, it's just the narrowing of the use of a product and seeing what they do with it in other places. This Claudio Correlio in Sao Tome has his tours. When you go to Granada, they have a whole. They just many things that we don't do. So again, it was just thinking about it, it broadened the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll come to you, Madam Francesca, but I want us to go, since we just started a little bit with the history, I'm going to throw this now to you, Mr. Bright, and apologies again for misgendering you. We saw a lot in the film about how, cocoa is a big industry, $130 billion industry. It's cocoa farmers, are the poorest in the chain. We saw a little boy in the beginning of the film who said he wants to become a nurse to become a doctor, right? And we also heard about premiums being given, but that it doesn't trickle down to the farmers. So if you can give us a little bit of an appreciation about the situation for cocoa farmers and why it's a struggle for them when they are the very crux of this whole industry.
Thank you. And thank you to Philip, to everybody here. Cocoa farmers,
their kids go through a lot when they want to do kweko. This has become possible because of the industry giants, Ondeleys, the Cargills, the Lanes. They come into the communities and then cause divisions, competitions in the communities. Why do I say that? We take one community like Makom, where we visited, and then you find out that you have Mondeleys working there, Hershey is there, Nestle, Mars, all the other giants, all competing for one cocoa from same farmers. So what do because this competition brings about divisions. When it comes to premium payments, for example, you will see Lint paying around 100 Ghana cedis. Nestle will be paying 20. These ones will be paying. Everybody is doing what he or she can to get more cocoa beans from the farmers. And then in all this, the farmers are the ones that suffer. I always say that before sustainability became very prominent in Ghana, farmers were doing well. They were doing very well. You hardly heard about child labor, low yield. Farmers had bounty harvest. But then we introduced sustainability. And then when it happened, the first thing farmers were supposed to do were to stop growing other crops on their farms. And these other crops made farmers have food every single time. And then another thing is that it also protected the ecosystem, the environment. But when we started making cocoa as a monocrop, farmers started struggling because one, most of the insects were killed. And then because of this competition, the demand on farmers was enormous. We demand more from these farmers. These industry giants demand more from farmers. What did they do? Now we have to supplement these same farms which did not need fertilizers in the first place. It never needed pesticides in the first place. But we have to support farmers with those pesticides, those fertilizers. And then farmers incur so much cost with the fertilizers alone. So you find out that as of now, most farmers can't even afford adult laborers on their farms. Before, that wasn't the case. But now, farmers are being forced to use their kids. Not because they want to use them, but they can't afford adult laborers. Now, adult laborers at our place is around 100 youths per head. Whilst kids around 15 cities. So it's easy for a farmer to go for the adults with 100 cities. He can take around 5-6 kids, work on the farm, and they are also easily controlled. You can control these kids whenever you want. So you find out that the lifestyle of the farmers before sustainability, or before these industry giants came into the food, their lives they were living a very cool life. You had nice air when you visit the farms. But now, their lifestyle, they are even more they are struggling more than we in the cities. Though when you look at the guy who said he wanted to be a nurse, I visited their school once, asked the teacher, how often does this boy come to school? Then you find out from them that they don't even go to school on a regular day. Even if they want to go to school, they are also late. And before you get to the school, where his community is to where the school is, you have to walk some distance, around 30 minutes to 1 hour. And I always say that we shouldn't put the burden of escaping child labor on kids. We shouldn't put the burden of eliminating those child labor on the people experiencing it. We should rather break those cycles, those chains, and put the kids, those individuals there.
Thank you. Before I let you pass the mic, just based off of this, there was a discussion, for instance, about some of the companies say they do trainings for the farmers on pesticides and chemicals. However, there was a profound statement that was made that the trainings are making the farmers to do poorer because what they come and do is they read the book to them and it's just theory and then nothing substantial, right? And they feel like they take their KPIs before they go to the money from that, yes. So that's one issue. And then there's the other issue of the LBC, who are supposed to be responsible for the traceability of the cocoa and making sure that it's not sourced of farmers who are using child labor. But you also just eloquently explain the difficulty of why farmers have to use their own children. I even want to talk a little bit more about the presence of these LBCs in one village. For instance, multiple LBCs in one village. How do you think that disrupts, the social piece of it? It disrupts this whole chain.
So with the trainings, what normally happens is that now I'm Hershey. I'm training my farmers. Bondelis is also training the farmers on this same topic. And this one is training something different. Let's take pruning, for example. Mondelis is training farmers on pruning. Lent is also training farmers on pruning. Everybody is using a different template. Why can't we draw one standard, one template for every cocoa farmer? Why should Lent have its own standards for its farmers? Why should Mondelis have its own standard for its farmers? Meanwhile, when you enter the community, before we started those competitions, they were living in harmony, they were living in peace. And most farmers, they join more than 2, 3, 4 LBCs. Why do they do that? They have this thinking that if I align myself with Lent and Lent Hanson to share something, I will have a part of it. So with the other LBCs. So when you take farmer lists in one community for different clients, you find out that farmer A might be farmed in clients A, client B, client C's farmer list. And this confusion is not helping. It's not helping in any way. Because I believe that if we are to produce one standard, one template, so that when I visit a community, I don't introduce myself as a Lent rep coming to do Lent farming training for them, but we all have one standard for every cocoa farmer. Now with the issue of with the trainings, it's still on the training. When you visit, let's assess the sustainability heads, the giants, the lanes, the country heads. How many times do they sit in farmer trainings? How many times do they visit communities? Do they even know the farmers whom they source the beef from? Do they have a relationship with them? A more respectful relationship? Do they have that with them? Do they even know the distance from their house to the farm? How do they get to the farm? How do they do their harvesting? We don't nobody comes around and sit in farmer meeting. So how do you even measure the success of what you are doing? How do you measure it? Because one, you are not at. You don't even do. You only rely on documents that are provided to you by the field officer. And anytime there is documents to be produced, the notice is not given earlier. You must have mostly 1 week, 2 weeks to submit those data. And you are working, assuming you are working with 1,003 farmers. How do you go to each community with maybe 30 communities? How do you go there and engage all those caucus at the same time? With the issue of traceability, I would say, the other guy said traceability happens only in the district. I would boldly say traceability ends at the community. And mostly, you can't even trace the beans even in the communities. I'm a farmer. I come to the purchasing clerk, Nana, and then I have 23 kilos of fruits. Nana will take the 23. Another Philip will also bring 15. So until you get one bag and then, or rib up them. And it's no more for me, neither is it for Nana. So traceability is lost even at the community level. It starts from the community level. I can confidently say that there is no traceable cocoa. You can't get more than 30% of traceable cocoa, even in the community, not the district. When we go to the district level, you can't get more than 10. And now, no LBC can say it has its own farmers. Farmers only go to where they have money. So you can't say this is my farmer. And it's competition. When the season occurs, every LBC is gathering for cocoa. That is how it is. Traceability is lost right at this community level.
That's the sad thing, and I guess our children, thank you for that, our children are on one side would have to suffer, and it shouldn't be. And I would like to move to Madam Jennifer, who was presented more as a solution in this whole chain, where you revolutionized the chain in the sense of making popular the industrial use of the pulp. And we want to talk a little bit more about that. And are there other people on the supply chain doing this? Because Nana earlier showed us all the other things you at least could cook for. You are at least doing that from that. I want to talk a little bit about your jing and how you came to that.
Hey, thank you very much for the question. Again, I'll say a big kudos to Philip for this project you run passionately. I think to answer your question, our product is very unique. So Koa, Switzerland, Ghana, started in 2017, and in Ghana we are under the name Koa Impacts Ghana Limited, and we are situated in the central region and the eastern region. What we do basically is we're working with smallholder farmers, and as we all know, as Lena said, everyone raves about the bees because that is what chocolate. And it was interesting that we found that most farmers who go to the farmers, my colleague said in the video, they are tasting the whitest substance. Sometimes they dry this, it goes down the soil because everyone is interested in the bean. So fermentation had to happen. So let's get rid of that white substance quickly, right? And so what Koa decided to do was, this is good stuff. I believe you tasted it, most of you. And you ask yourself why this precious juice is going down the soil. And so we found a technology to harness it and upcycle this cocoa fruit that we see. So if you take a cocoa pod, the pulp is constituting 25%, and the husk as well, about, let's say, 40%, then there's the bean. And everybody's raving about the beans. The husk, the pulp, does not go anywhere. So Koa is harnessing the pulp, and out of our technology, we're able to get what we have is selling here, the juice, and the thicker consistency one that is the pulp, which you can actually dry and get sugars from. And these are wholesome sugars that can replace artificial sugars in the chocolates that we are eating, so-called healthy. And so, to answer your question, the whole journey of Koa started from reducing food waste and also impacting our farmers. And by the way, by this, we are adding extra income to the farmer. The farmer needs to know that he can also use this for something else. And so we're like, okay, we buy this from you, we give you extra money. And this money you're using also to pay their laborers. And if you listen to the documentary very well, some of these farmers use this money to also pay the fees of their children. And also Koa is helping them bring their beans from the farm to their house. A food operation, you have to help them bring their beans from the farm. It's called Fermentation happens on the farm if you've been to a farm before. And corn needs the beans as the factory to extract. And so we're already helping you through this process. So the whole thing is interesting. If you ask me if others are doing it in Ghana, no. But of course, we are hoping that others will find the use of other parts of the cocoa, not just the bean. And so that's the story behind the whole extraction process before.
That's very commendable work you do. Very, very commendable. Is it difficult to get cocoa farmers to work with you?
Actually, no. Of course, let me take it back. Normally, farmers are a bit hesitant. They're wondering, are they going to take my beans? Are they stealing? Then when we explain to them, and we also have very insightful trainings with our farmers, let them understand that we are not taking your beans, we are taking the waste, or what you called waste, around the bean. And when they understand further that you can earn something extra, and who doesn't want this? So they're like, okay, how much more can I get? How much are you going to pay me? How quickly can I get this money? Is this true? So all this gets the farmers interested. And as I mentioned, we're helping them get the beans from the farm to their homes, which they have to be all high transportation to do this. So there are lots of benefits for quads to the farmers. And so it gets easier, but trust, it takes time to build trust with humans. And of course, the beans is precious, so everyone's like, let's try with, let's say, 1 bucket of beans. We build up to 2, and now we have farmers who are giving us over 1,000 buckets sometimes during the bumper seasons.
Yeah. Where does ICRAWE operate currently?
Currently, we are in the central region as a community called Asin Akofom. If you know Asin Posu, so it's about some kilometers away from Asin Posu. And we opened a $10 million factory after going this. Now we're working with more farmers, so we got investors to help us build a second factory in the eastern region. And so we're making parts with fries with our farmers and bringing on more. Currently, in the video we said we had 9,000. Now we've registered about 13,000. That actually working with about 5,000, because you need to get to them and let them understand. But yeah, we're getting there, good.
Thank you very much. And I'm now going to move to Mr. Abugre, who's the Managing Director for Yayra Global Organic Inputs Limited. We spoke earlier about pesticides and chemicals and the effect on cocoa probably. Can you talk a little bit more about organic production? What are the pros and cons of this, first of all?
Yeah, thank you. So we are into the production of the organic cocoa, and we actually started this from 2030. In 2006, when Mr. Glover came to Ghana from Switzerland and approached both of us, this was something they could not actually comprehend at the beginning. And they thought it wasn't possible. And so it was very easy for them to say, okay, you go ahead, try it, and let's see. And so we got the support of Swiss government, and we went into these communities in Suhu, Amanasbe, and the environment. So we recruited these farmers, trained them by ourselves, and we have markets in Switzerland by especially, who since then have been buying and using our farmers' cocoa. So we needed to develop our own standards, and we realized that these people were using synthetic products as fertilizers and insecticides, and it was leaving a lot of residue on the beans. So we had to work with our partners to develop a wheat-based and waste food that we could use to apply as input on these farmers' their lands. So we did that, and we realized that it takes 3 years for the farm, an existing farm, to transition from being a normal or a synthetic or infested farm to a purely 100% organic farm. So we did that with those farmers, and all this normally locals do ask, beans, how are you going to look at it? Cocoa beans and know that this is organic cocoa beans or it is not. So this is normally determined in the lab. We send this for residue analysis. and that needs to be completely certified before we can even move into our buyers. So that is how we started, and the farmers, we motivated them with extra income beyond what COCOBOT gives. Now we all know that, like from the video, the producer price for cocoa is not that a lot. The entire pricing system of cocoa, the farmer gets like 30%. So we had to incentivize by bringing in the premium that the buyer is ready to pay for the farmer to produce what they needed. And so that is what got the farmers started to join. And we had about 5,000 farmers trade within Suhum, Amanase, and Bawri. And since then, we have been growing steadily. And that is how we move with.
So would you say you've now convinced farmers to turn organic? How would you say the numbers are now?
Yes, we actually have more trying to come in, because even some of the places that are beyond our operational areas, they actually approach. I have a farm, maybe 1 acre or 5 acres, I want to join. And normally those that are not within our operational areas, we simply encourage them to adopt our organic inputs that we have developed. Then they can use. By that, apart from it being organic, it restores the soil. When you come to our cocoa farms, you will find snail. It's a natural habitat. You might even come across some nice, beautiful snakes. Yeah, but that is.
But they are good for the soil, right? And aeration.
Yes, exactly. So we have a lot in the eastern region now that are also trying to come in. And if you look at the fair trade direction, they developed their concept more from the organic concept that we established in there. So most of this specialty cocoa production, they are also being supported with organic input. And so they are no more into full 100% synthetic input application on their farms. So yes, the numbers are increasing, and it goes beyond even just our customers. But we are happy, knowing very well that around the 6 regions, original regions of the cocoa areas, people are using organic input. And so we even have made it available beyond our own farmers. And now you go to Western region, we don't operate there, but there are a lot of farmers in the Western region that are using our organic input, which we actually produce purposely for our farms. And it cuts across all the other cocoa regions.
Right, thank you very much. And Madam Francesca, I'd like to jump to you. I think at the end of the documentary, we now jumped into the beauty benefits for cocoa with our skin, with our hair. If you could please, talk a little bit more about that for us.
Thank you very much. I'd like to first comment on the effects this whole documentary has had on me as a small business owner in Ghana. What you know, Nana, is in 2002, I actually wanted to go overseas. That was the beginning of my business, and it ended as a cosmetics manufacturer. And this documentary has awoken pains and stuff that I've even forgotten about, because I chased and never got needed a permit. And so I forgot about it and instead decided to do value-added products, because with that, without the capital and all those permits and the huge equipment, I could start something. So that's what made me one of the pioneers of indigenous or cosmetic manufacturers in Ghana. So I had a brand called ETC Baits. Took me from 2002 to 2008 to realize the processing was not going to happen. And so in 2008, I started from home. And now it's grown into a big international business when you're talking in the scale of store business. What I think this has for us is for those of us who have taken the challenge but have struggled to take something out of all of this beside a very big company. This documentary kind of awakens a bit of rebellion in me, and I think when it's shown to others, you come to realize exactly what they are doing, you know. I think with the people like Del Company, you know, looking at you, looking at what Bioko is doing, it kind of tells me that, okay, if people like us champion this to a certain point, and his company was now asking questions, why is it that government is not allowing us to do this? Why is it that Cocoa Board is not doing that? So what can happen is that we can come together and say, hey, government, now look at us. So I'm not now even talking about us breaking cosmetics out of Cocoa, but that is the start, you know. But I'm talking about looking at the deeper issues and looking at our heritage and looking at how we can claim what it is that belongs to us. And it just takes us as coming together and saying, let's go talk to those people, because why am I paying taxes on the cocoa butter that I'm using for local production? Why is it that in 2024, when cocoa was short, nobody said, let's give a quota for those who are manufacturing locally so that we stop importing cocoa butter from other countries when we have a strike here? So to me, it's that kind of awakening the rebellion, and I take this compassionate view to some kind of economic revolution. If we have more, you know, small businesses or small people looking at it, seeing what their rights are, and standing up and saying, this is called as a rebel. That's what.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that was also another thing that really hits me watching the documentary, the fact that it was difficult for Ghanaian producers to go into processing cocoa, you know, and rather easier for foreign companies, which is, and at the same time, you have our political leaders making speeches and paying lip service while we're all here paying e-levy and forming time. So now I'm going to open it up to our audience. I don't want to hog the mic. If there are any questions, I'm sure there's a lot of comments or thoughts about what you saw. If you would like to share, okay, there's a hand here. Can someone help me with the mic? Thank you. All right.
Hello. And so I don't really have a question. It's more my general thoughts of watching this. And even when Ananki, he passed a comment about how this would not have worked if it was a Ghanaian that initiated this entire conversation. And that is the most heartbreaking thing I've heard this evening. Because how do we expect to move forward as a country if we cannot initiate our own, we cannot initiate processes to liberate ourselves, and we go back to the people that we claim have kept us in chains come and liberate us? And this is not to say that people that filmed this documentary are colonizers or whatever. I mean, the ancestors were, but that's the point. But I'm just saying, how can we, what is this conversation even about if we know that as a country, this is our reality? You know, in all of this, I keep thinking standardization. Why are LBCs in charge of sustainability standardization, child labor standardization, and selling of cocoa, liquor, all of those things that come up? You know, like other people have said, Ghana developed the Ghana Child Labor Monitoring System to fight child labor within the cocoa and supply chain. But every single LBC has adopted that system, named it something else, and keeps updating it and knowing their own place within the country. So this entire conversation makes me seem like we just want to cry out, but there's a little bit of complicity that comes out from within us as a people. What do you expect? They're doing business. If they are getting us for cheap work, they should turn around and be like, oh no, we don't want billions of dollars. Come take some. No, that's not going to happen. So as a country, what conversations are we supposed to be having? And I love what the lady said about the rebellion and speaking to government before we attack the FCC, the people in London that won't let people come in, what are we doing within our system? Cocoa Board is rigged, so corrupt, right from the PC to the LBC. It starts from the farm at the PC to the district manager, then to the whoever is in charge, country sector level. The entire chain is corrupt. Now we want to go and attack the billion-dollar industry. How do we get there? It's not going to happen. So, and it was just like looking at the audience, more than 70% were white people. Where is the Ghanaian interest in Ghanaian problems? We keep running back to the people that we say are trying to hold us down to solve our problems, and it's just ridiculous.
So I'd like to answer that. If you look at how South Africa gained their liberation, it did get some support from some non-black South Africans who believed in their cause. And I believe that for anything to happen, there has to be a start. So if it took a collaboration of some Ghanaians and some non-Ghanaians, because maybe a Ghanaian would be intimidated. First thing is that once this is done, it's not going to go to just Ghanaian audiences. I can just see the kind of ripple effect it's going to have when you go to Nigeria, where they notice that they have similar issues. We go to other places. And like I said, I had even forgotten my aim about my ability to set up my Gogo 5G. And so I saw this. So this is what will wake us up and say, hey, let's talk to our government. Who allowed them to form that whatever city in London? Okay, so we are demanding that we get X, Y, Z. And I think it is a fantastic beginning. When you are going to fight and look for something, every collaborator counts. It doesn't matter.
It wasn't. I know because, there have been times when I have attended things like shows, trainings that have been paid for by other governments, and then I see how hard those people are trying to help me get foreigners from outside of Ghana to bring the income to Ghana and the jobs to Ghana. I have asked the same questions in the ASCA, and that's why I have that answer.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? All right, there's a hand there. You can please help me. All right, thank you.
Good evening, and thank you, everybody. It was really very deep explanation of the topic, and there are two things. There's one thing that I actually saw, and that was touched upon briefly, which was the gold mining. And I would like to ask, how do you feel this is going to develop, and what is the impact was explained briefly that farmers will sell their land because the illegal mining is already encroaching on their land, maybe. And how do you feel like this is going to continue in the future? This is one question, that I would have another, if I can ask another question.
Yeah, who wants to take that? Because Galamsey is a heated situation now. Please, Nana, in your data, respond to that. Galamsey have let in our farms now.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think first and foremost, the gold has always been our soil. We have known that. I think that a lot of the gold areas are also cocoa areas. And it is unfortunately our lack of development of the cocoa sector that has also been directly led to this gold at this. I think that we are at a tipping point. And as to how it impacts, a lot will depend on enforcement of regulations, plus, how do we control all these? I mean, gold mining is always going to be there, and there's a sector called the small scale binding sector, which is no longer small. So this is a difficult question to answer, but the honest truth again is that it is our lack of development of the cocoa sector that has actually egged this galamsey explosion. And it's quite apart from the fact that, of course, they are corrupt politicians and whatever were behind it. But if the cocoa sector was booming, the farmers or industry, cottage industry, whatever those areas we have, why should people risk their lives, etc.? Why should they take a paltry amount of money for it? So that's my perspective. I think that if we're not careful in certain areas, unless we start an aggressive reclamation, which takes time anyway, that's really part of the decline also of our cocoa production. So we've got to sit up.
Aggressive reclamation. I might ask. You want to respond here?
Or maybe that's something. Last year, there was a documentary from one of our media outlets about a cocoa farmer who insisted he has no regrets selling his cocoa farm to Ghanaians. And his reason was that all his years of farming cocoa, he has never gotten that amount that those illegal miners came to offer him for his piece of land. You see, when we want to talk about the cocoa industry, people are scared. People are not willing to come forward to talk. If you watch the documentary, you could see when Mr. Glover spoke, he said, they can come and arrest them. That tells you there is some amount of intimidation in the system. But let's be honest, if the cocoa sector is liberalized such that the farmer have more access to whatever the price is in the world price for cocoa, the farmer will not want to sacrifice whatever that he's earning from cocoa for gold. If a farmer knows that a bag of cocoa beans can fetch me more than 9,000, or let's just put it in dollars, about, let's say, $100, I don't think such a farmer would want to sacrifice that farmland for gold. Because 1 acre of land, if he treats it well, he can get not less than 12 bags. That's a lot of money. So we need to start being bold and taking bold steps. We need to liberalize the system. For the farmers need to see it also as a business. Now, we always get excuses like there is investment from the government in funding of input, subsidizing and training the farmers. But like we saw on the documentary, how are the farmers trained by these people that are sent there? And that is a question, because at the end of the day, you train the people and they go out there, they come. But when you empower the farmer that this is your business, look at the mango farmers in Ghana, look at the vegetable farmers in Ghana. They see it as their business. They invest in it because they know that they are in control, they are in charge of whatever that they bring out. So I think it is time we start looking at the cocoa sector in that direction. It will help.
Thank you. I'll take 2 more comments.
Can I just?
Sure.
I was just so blown away by the blockchain idea, and I really wanted to know, how did you come up with that?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yeah. So the blockchain idea for COA was simple. We are social and environmentally appreciated company. Okay, so we are B Corp, first of all, let me mention. And for B Corp, it means you have very serious desire for social and environmental issues. And we asked ourselves, COA has always been a company that's transparent with its payment to its farmers, but how do you make the claim transparent? How do you get your consumers to believe you're doing this, especially in a value chain where transparency is a problem? And so for us, it started with that problem, asking ourselves, how could we be transparent? And so we went into a partnership with a digitalized platform company called C-Trace, and we took our problems to them. We want our consumers globally, starting from locally to international, to know that the amount of monies we pay to our farmers are as we do pay. There's no cuts, there's no middleman taking anything. And so this collaboration bred a collaboration also with NTN as a service provider, because they are the more communication server that we work with. And so NTN, basically with collaboration with us and C-Trace, when we make payments to the farmers, C-Trace is notified through blockchain, and they are independent, like I said, verification company. And so they're able to verify that we have done this. And if you know, just fundamentals of blockchain is basically a decentralized, digitalized platform. And so it's secure, you cannot tamper with it. So whatever we pay, NCN has records, C-Trade can also get notified and have a record. And so this decentralized transaction is sitting in multiple blocks. And so you can verify by scanning on our product that farmer Emisa at Asina Kofom, who gave us XY buckets for the poll, was paid 2,000 Ghana cedi, and no one took a share out of it. He got lucky that. And that beauty of it made it exciting for us that we can at least curb the issues of traceability that's happening in our cocoa supply chain. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it was all out of trying to solve the problem of traceability for us at COA that led the blockchain technology adoption.
Thank you very much. That was a great question. Any more comments, question?
Over here.
All right, over here, please.
Yeah, wait. I'll. Okay. My name is Parman Kojo. I happen to be his older brother. And so it's a kind of, I thought I'd give a public thing out to my brother for maintaining a very clear focus on a topic and on an issue in which you can actually get motivated. I happen to be a lawyer, and I think what people don't understand is that it is actually an offense in Ghana to use cocoa which you don't actually produce from your farm, but you buy from somebody else to do anything. Let me just restate. The law in Ghana at the moment is that Cocoa Board has a monopoly over a cocoa product once you take it out of the stuff and make the whole thing. As soon as you finish doing that, and you throw the raw bean, it belongs to Cocoa Board. Okay? And it's an offense under Ghana law. I can't tell you the section of the top. If you pay me some money, I'll remember. Now, it is an offense to actually use cocoa beans in any way other than to sell it directly. Right? So all of you are actually offenders. But there are so many of you who are offending that it is not feasible to arrest you. But this is actually a law. And once upon a time, it made sense. One has to be fair. Once upon a time, it made sense. But the world has moved on. And it is Cocoa Board and the Ghana government which has not moved on. And governments are scared of change. You see, unless you put a gun to their head, and then they may change if they can't shoot you first. So, but let me just end on a positive note. We actually, as Yao said, we're actually at a very interesting, complicated tipping point where, change of some sort has to happen because what we're doing now is completely unsupportable. I don't actually like Mr. Trump, but I suspect he may actually force some of our documents to get serious. So I'll end I'll end on that note. And Trump, by the way, likes chocolate. Stand.
All right. There's our last question here. Thank you.
I'm just following up on what just been said here, and my point is that often if you want to get any results, you have to look at it from the other points of the other person's point of view, and look at Cocoa Board as another person, right? So what solutions will work for both Cocoa Board and this message, right? There is always a solution there. I can see a proposal to the government that will ensure that Ghana doesn't lose out of it, and individuals and small businesses don't lose out of it. There is a clear solution there, and that's what has to be pursued. So both parties are happy. Always have to approach it from that angle. Yeah, that person's points counts. Okay.
All right, thank you. So I guess let's wrap up this panel with your last final thoughts. You spoke earlier about a revolution, but I'll end with you last. I want you to, ginger us out. But I'm going to start with you. If you can give us your last thoughts on tonight, and then we'll go on that way. Thanks.
Okay. For me, I think this movie has been very enlightening. Even being in the cocoa supply chain, I did not know much about the history. As Nana told us, as he said, Tito Kwashi has been always in our books, and we knew he was the one who got cocoa. Through a very funny approach, people said he ingested it and brought it out, ABC. And it was good to know more from the beginning and how Philippe captured it all the way to the solution. Where I sit as COA, as a company that pushes for traceability, all that I would say is that it will be necessary that all collaborators in the value chain come together to find real solutions for us to be able to track all the so-called premiums on monies we are paying to our farmers, verify them, that be able to really ascertain that the farmers are really getting the benefits of their hard work. I think that's one of the biggest problems, traceability. And it's interesting seeing all the ways these LBCs are doing it. We've had interactions with some LBCs that have approached our company to work with us, and we already can tell there's some sort of shady acts going on, and so we do not want to soil ourselves knowing how we do our traceability. So it's a call to me. I'll say that we need to do real traceability, act properly. And I think our cocoa value chain is too tainted at this point that I don't know what would save it, but real conversations have to happen. And I would say that it starts from us. It starts from us. So I know we have some change makers sitting here, people of influence. As this conversation is happening, I like how my sister was very passionate about what she said. And it's true. I had someone once ask, how did you guys come up with this product? And it was interesting, and I don't say this again to shame anybody. It took an external person to come to Ghana to see that you could salvage the juice and the pulp. We were throwing it away. So it took an external person of goodwill, of course. And so I think another thing is that we need to appreciate what we have as Ghanaians. Everything around this is valuable, but we wait for it to be transformed or introduced to us in a nicer package, and we are wowed. And so we have Ghanaians today asking, what product is this? How did you make it? And you tell them, this is cocoa juice from the pulp around the beans. And they're like, really? Why does it taste like chocolate? Why should it taste like chocolate? It's fruit. It's the fresh fruit you break right from the farm. And so I'll say, let's see value in what we have around us, and let's not wait for others to show us before we appreciate it. So this is what I'll say. Yeah.
Mr. Bright?
The solutions for our cocoa industry are there for all of us to see. We are just, in a better word, we are afraid to somehow implement some of those solutions. One, we were talking about traceability. With traceability, we need data from scratch. All the data we have on our cocoa farmers are either made up, ghost names, outdated. Some are not no more farmers. Some are not even in the communities anymore. So we need to have a new data on all cocoa farmers. Where do Cocoa Board get its data from? It takes it from the LBCs. It takes data from ICRAWE, Ola, and somebody in one community is Ofi, Ola, Ofi, ICRAWE, and even in a different district. And we have the same person as Cocoa Board will put it, our farmer. So we need fresh data. How do we do that? A data that cannot be duplicated, like how we do our voting. We need to start thinking differently. We need to move away from a normal way we do things. And the sustainability programs, I believe, should be in touch from the LBCs. Because LBCs now uses the sustainability program to source bees. They are not looking at the welfare of the farmer. They should detach it and give it to an independent NGO, anybody who knows what. And we should have one standard. So when I go to this community to train farmers, or if that farmer had moved from where it is and then into a new community, it means the same training standards. And one bold decision. Now our cocoa is going down. From last 10 years, if we don't take care, in the next 10 years, Togo will in overtakers. And we seem not to know what we have to do about it. We just talk about. Very soon, our name, Ghana, will be in the history books when we talk about cocoa, if care is not taken. We have to take bold steps, bold decisions, in order to salvage declining cocoa production. One solution I also suggest is that government should be put. Now in our forest, we are also losing our forest alongside our cocoa. That is what we are not, people are not taking care of, by taking notice of that. We are losing the forest too. In where I am, some of the forests are given to farmers to plant plantains. Just plantains. You are not allowed to plant any other crop. So, why we should look at the data, find out which communities, which districts, which regions are having low cocoa production. And then with those districts or with those communities, we start a pilot project. Instead of just planting in that forest, clearing some parts for just planted. Why don't we do cocoa? Why don't we start cocoa? And then when it happens that way, what about the other cocoa lands which are not producing? Less shade trees of economic value, cash shade trees, whether 2, 3, 4, we should consciously nest, not those shade trees that are used in making exercise, the ones they are dead, we share the farmers, no. Shade trees with high economic value. And then we start planting those shade trees in those cocoa farms that cannot produce it. One, those shade trees don't need fertilizers, they don't need pesticides, they don't need anybody to weed around. Just leave it there. In the next 10 years, in the next 15, in the next 20, 50 years, we will have our forest back. And then we will have our cocoa also back. Be organic, with no chemicals, no additive. And then we can also save the forest from the enormous chemicals that's.
I appreciate that very much. And Nana, I think a heartwarming thing watching the documentary was how you continue to share the culture and the heritage. In this documentary, we saw diaspora Africans, African Americans, I think, who would come to do this tour. Said it was inspired by the South African wine farms. So my question to you, with your last admonishment, what do you think is the future for this?
First and one word. I think the future is a composition. There are so many aspects to pull that we have to stop focusing on beans alone and chocolate and have a broader conversation about really bringing buying to an industry. And I think that this documentary does well in broadening the conversation. So once again, thanks to all of us who made it possible. And I just wanted to make a brief addition to what my great colleague said earlier. When we actually go deeper into the conversation, we realize that a lot of new products or a lot of products that can be easily commercialized actually lying on the shelves of the people we said were gone. I mean, the pulp juice, and he's been sitting on the shelves for at least 30 years. So these are part of the conversations that we need to have as to how we get access to that material, commercialize it. I mean, again, historically, if we know a cocoa station in Ghana is actually supposed to be another Center for Scientific and National Research, which so all the CSIRs, supposed creators, and that do go and collect the information to then set up this. Of whatever reason, cocoa is now just listed liquid fertilizer. And of course, I mean, just supporting the development of cocoa seedlings, etc. I think that there's a broader mandate there. So there's a lot of information that's sitting on the shelves that we can all benefit from. And so once again, thank you very much for coming. Look forward to the conversation.
Thank you. Final words, sir. Final word.
So, Stelda, I think this is a great work. You have shined light in places people are scared to, and so we are much grateful for that. What I ask of all of us is we shouldn't let this end today just as another night of entertainment, but it should be a beginning of something bigger. All of us need to take this back and keep sounding it until something is done. And last year, CocoBot introduced something, MIS, where they try to register the farmers with cards so that they can use their IDs for selling of their produce. I think that the new management of CocoBot, if they can actually continue that is a very good step that will help to also reduce some of these glitches. I wish us all the best, and thank you.